Hello everyone, welcome back to another stream of videos. Today I wanted to show you another quick game where I was playing as white. This was another 30-minute game that I had on chess.com. The guy I already played, I've already featured him in two of my videos already. I showed him some of my videos. I was like, oh cool, I want to have another game against you. So I've been featuring another one of his games, and this was a fun little one. In the Vienna Gambit, and just shows that things can go a little bit wrong if your opponent knows how to play against some of your preparation, and certainly against the Vienna Gambit, if you know what you're doing against it or you've got some ideas, you can actually get quite a good position, and that's what happened in this game. So the game started e4, e5, knight to c3, knight to c6, another Vienna game. f4 was played, e takes on f4, knight to f3. So we reached a standard position, and here one really interesting continuation is g5. This is very similar to that of the King's Gambits. So the same ideas apply to some of the same ideas that apply to the King's Gambit when you're playing as black also apply to the Vienna game, or Vienna Gambit, I should say. So g5 has the idea of just holding on to this f4 pawn, and also there's potential ideas of pushing here on g4, decentralizing this really well placed knight. So after the move d4, which is pretty much always played, another idea, just so in case you're interested, is also h4 as well, and I might actually look at this line a little bit more in some of my future games. So this provokes g4 from being played, and after this there's a very crazy line here which goes knight to g5, and if our opponent plays h6, we can enter into what is known as I think it's the Happy Algeria Gambit, or Algeria Gambit. I can't pronounce it. But basically, knight takes an f7, king takes an f7, d4. So we take over the entire center, and our opponent's king is a little bit precarious, but it's at the cost of a pawn. So it's quite an interesting approach to the game. Certainly when you put it through an engine, engines hate these sort of positions. They just say, well, it's clearly winning for black, you're down a piece and you've only taken a pawn. But when you put it against an engine versus actual practical play, it's easier said than done. You know, it's actually quite tough to fight this position as black, because you've really got to spend the next few moves trying to develop, but also get your king to safety, as there really isn't any good hiding squares for it to go onto. So it's no wonder when I put this on the database, in the Masters database, there is quite a high win percentage for white here, and even on the Lee Chess database, white wins quite a lot. Another approach, just very quickly, instead of playing h6, they can also play d6, and after d4, h6. There's a transposition in this line, so it pretty much reaches the same position. But actually, weirdly, this one move here, in fact, gives white a tough time actually. But going back, it'd be interesting to see if I don't play d6 and they play h6 after here. Can't they just do this again? Yeah, so I can just do that again. So that goes back to the same position. So black actually wins quite a lot in these games. There's a lot of high level play. There is a game with David Navarra playing as black against a player called Martin Petri. But some other crazy games from this position, and a lot of black wins. The idea being, I think actually black's position starts to be okay once he can get his bishop to maybe this square. So after bishop c4, now why? Well, I suppose if you just do that, that just gets the king much more unsafe. So king to g7, captures here. Lots of interesting lines. It's something I'll have a look into anyway. I don't want to focus on this too much in this game, because that's not what happened. But something I'll definitely have a look at anyway. Right, so what actually happened in the position. So in the actual game I played d4, which again is not actually a terrible move. Black wins quite a lot of games from this though, and there is actually quite a few games from this point. So bishop to g7, again very similar to a lot of King's Gambit positions. This bishop often comes to g7 to influence the centre that way, and also gets it one step closer to castling as well. Play d5, knight to e5, and here I looked at this and I thought, oh, I'm doing okay here. I can swap off the knights, and you know, the bishop on this square doesn't really look that good. But there is a much better line that I didn't play, and that's the move d6. And this creates quite a lot of interesting complications. Black doesn't want to capture this pawn, just in case you're wondering, as after queen takes, there's a lot of complications. If he plays queen to e7, there's just a simple win of a pawn there. And going back, if he captures the knight instead, after g takes on f3, and I don't know, let's say a move like queen to a5, trying to hit this this knight, we could play d2. Bishop to e5, hitting the queen. After queen to d3, queen to b6. Black is still up a pawn here, but white's activity is much stronger. And I had a look at some, again, quite long lines in this, just to sort of see what black's plans are. So you can castle long here. Bishop, knight to e7, h4, g takes. And just white's piece is a lot more active here than black's. So there'll be a potential exchange here at some point, and I thought I'll stop it at this position because it's very interesting. Black is still up a pawn, but he's got so many targets everywhere, and it's no wonder it gives whites, according to the engines, a plus 1.1 advantage. You can see how white's going to pick up at least a couple of pawns here and have a good game as a result. So in the actual game then, so I didn't play that move. I captured the knight, he captured my bishop, and I played bishop to c4, and I thought this looked like an okay move. It's really not very good at all. d6 was played, castles, queen to e7, bishop to b5 check. So I kind of lost the tempo there, but I thought I need to get rid of this bishop, and I thought he was going to play this move and allow me to exchange these off. I thought this would have been an okay position, but he played, it sort of surprised me, but he played king to f8, and I was like, oh, okay. And actually the king is perfectly safe on f8. In fact, it's much safer than actually castling. So and now I'm a little bit stuck. I'm not too sure what to play here. My position is quite cramped on the king side because of these pawns. And actually, to be honest with you, castling on the king side probably wasn't as good as I thought it would be. I probably would have been much more safer potentially castling on the queen side. So let's see how it goes on. So I play bishop to d2. And yeah, as I say, I'm just walking to a king side attack. The knight comes here. The rook is primed to come onto g8. I played g3, which is, I mean, it's just a terrible move. I shouldn't really want to open up this position, as soon as I do, my position, I thought maybe I could try and create some counterplay. If there was a capture here, I thought, well, maybe I can try and create some complications along this this knight. It doesn't lead to anything though. And actually, as I say, as soon as I open up this position, my king is much more unsafe than black's king here. So a really strong move here. Played rook to g8. So now, after I capture, the whole position opens up and it comes with a check as well. But I had nothing better to do here. I mean, maybe queen to f3 is probably a little bit stronger, but I'm strategically lost here. So after g takes. I hid my king to h8. I thought maybe I can exchange off here. What I missed was the move bishop to h3 now. A really strong move. I can't afford to play moves like rook to g1 here, as there's some nice combinations here. After rook takes, I was looking at these lines. I'd actually be better taking with the king here, which runs into another check, a pretty horrible check. As after this, if let's say I move back here, my position starts to crumble after knight captures. Notice he can't capture this knight, and this will end pretty badly for me. This will end in a checkmate in 2. So yeah, my position starts to totally crumble. He's threatening just to come to f2 and win the queen. So let's see, queen to e2 after check. I actually have to capture with the queen here, as if I go to g1, this loses to queen to g5, and there's only one move to save it, which will be queen here, and then that will be checkmate. So very bad position. So I tried to play rook to f3, but it's totally lost here. After this move, he played the move bishop to g2, and I resigned. So a very quick thrashing, and it just goes to show, you know, in these sort of positions, when you're playing these risky gambits, just playing one small inaccuracy, because let's be honest, it didn't look like a terrible move, knight captures here, but actually after this I was just totally losing, and it was very difficult to play this position. Okay, I allowed myself to play more mistakes. You know, if I was to quote a nice quote from Karpov here now, blunders rarely, blunders tend to follow other blunders. And here, after this, I just played bad move after bad move, and it led to my position getting totally lost. I hope you enjoyed this quick one. I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye.